How to avoid Dungeon Master burnout. That's what we're going to focus on for this vlog, because this is an important topic, especially if you're a DM. And I say especially because even from the perspective of a player, if your DM burns out, that's going to bring the game down. That's going to kind of kill the synergy of the group. And often as a DM, we're so involved in creating the narrative, running the story, the vision and the voice, bringing in our players, the enthusiasm of our players, we can get a little overwhelmed. We can get a little burned out. And if the players can see this, they can kind of help the DM, recharge the DM, so we can bring our best to the table. So the first thing is avoiding burnout as best that we can. And if you are burnt out, taking a little bit of a break, and we're going to explore that from a D&D perspective and a non-D&D perspective. In terms of not burning out, you have to be honest with yourself. I mean, we want to please our players. We want to grow our gaming group, our gaming circle. But ultimately, you have to run the adventures that you like to run. The passion that you bring to the table through these adventures is going to be infectious, and it's going to engage your players. It's going to motivate. It's going to move your players. That doesn't mean out of 10 adventures, every now and then you don't run something completely different. I mean, if you were into like mass combat, sword and sorcery, and that's your bread and butter, okay, every now and then run political intrigue or something where there is no combat, just to mix it up. But be honest with yourself. Focus on what you enjoy. Next would be preparation. To prepare as best that you can, but not overly prepare where it's just taking away from enjoying the game and other aspects of your life within role-playing or outside of role-playing. Often, if we're running back-to-back adventures that require a lot of back and forth and looking things up and interpreting rules, are there ways we can cut that down a little bit? Are there ways that we can bookmark or checkmark or tab places where there might be questions? Or if something's just not working in an adventure, then just kind of exit out. Don't even bring it up. Don't even run the encounter. Next. And this is vital. This could almost be number one, but this is important. Remembering that as a DM, you're a player also. Yeah, you're doing the rules, you're doing the vision and the voice, you're running the narrative, but you're there as a player also. You're there participating in the game. So get into the game. Put yourself into the monsters. One of the things that I like to do is when I'm running monsters, yes, I have godlike knowledge of the adventures and I know what's going on, but with the interaction, and this is true for NPCs also, out of combat, in combat, out of combat, is to look and be like, what's the intelligence of this monster? And behave or interact or play. Get to role play. As a DM, you get to role play tons of characters. You get to role play tons of monsters. That's exciting from that perspective. So put yourself as that lawful evil great red dragon. Put yourself in there as that orc warlord who's only concerned with expanding his domain. Put yourself in there as that arrogant cloud giant, right? What are some of the things that you can explore? That brings excitement to the table. And if you make a mistake, well, it's not even make a mistake. Eventually, you're going to get killed anyway. If it's an encounter, it's no loss because you get to be on to the next. You get to play to the next. Doing your best not to get burnt out. But sometimes you need a break. Sometimes you've been running back-to-back adventures. Sometimes you're just not feeling it. And I'm not talking about like a one-off the night you're really not feeling it that much. But if you find yourself consistently being burnt out, then one of the things that I recommend, and I always recommend this, is to be on both sides of the DM screen. Jump in as a player. Jump in as a player, and this might be part of a regular group. It might be taking a pause, or it might be exploring D&D in some other ways. One of the things that I pushed up to my channel and we explored on the archive was this idea of virtual D&D, playing D&D, tabletop D&D, exploring it in lots of amazing different ways, exploring it from the perspective of a virtual setting, a play-by-post, an interactive, just a short adventure. I mean, you don't have to commit for weeks and months or a year, but just something to get you back in the game, get you rolling on the dice and engaging to be relaxed a little bit.